so he's been with us since ninth grade. Liam has had a lot of success here. He represented us last year in the Culinary Challenge, and the Culinary Challenge is 2 students from each of the District 11 organization create a meal. You get to pick an area, they create a menu, and then they prepare it with a chef from an actual business within the area, and they compete against the 4 other schools, and it's a $75 a plate night, and Liam's dish won. It was his idea, his recipe, and he won it. So I have a pitch for you guys in the midst of this student number 1. Liam is doing it again this year, and Liam, would you share with us what your recipe is, what your meal is going to be?
We got, for our area of the United States, we got a Southern style category. So what I conceptualized was a braised brown sugar pork belly with sweet brown sugar barbecue sauce and a smoky Southern style grilled shrimp on red grits.
So if you would like to be part of this, it's the $75 that goes to Skills USA, and it is on March 30th this year. So got a little plug in there. Come on in, Dennis. Just take a seat. On top of that, Liam represented us at Skills USA this year and did not place, but he was given certain ingredients, just like you see on the chef shows, and you have to create a soup, a salad, and a main course.
And a dessert.
And a dessert from the ingredients that are there. And from his head, no recipes, no internet to look at. He did not place, but great sport. He said it was the best experience. He enjoyed every second of it. So it's something very good. He currently works at, I have to read this, Barley Sheep Farm in Buckingham, and he's a prep cook for all of the brunches and weddings that are hosted there. And at times you do the front of the house, but you're mostly a prep chef.
Yeah.
He is a guitarist and a cellist in his spare time, and loves reading on his downtime. So he did something right. That's good. As he prepares for graduation, he said he will really miss the tight-knit group he has in the culinary program. Very good group of kids, and they are definitely very close. And when he graduates, he's looking at going to Bucks County Community College for the food service management. And after getting an associate's degree, he'll consider whether he goes full-time to work or he goes on to a culinary school further. And Liam has been amazing. Thank you so much for letting us have him. Just a pleasure to have around. Have a great program. His claim to fame is he made Channel 6 Action News for the Cover Bridge project that they worked on. He was very involved in the community service with the Bucks County Cover Bridge Society. He came very close. We're filled with a room of people that placed at Skills USA. He competed in his shop to compete at Skills USA and placed third to 2 people that actually placed up at districts. So it was a very close third that he placed in his shop, but very good talent, and Mr. Kennedy said he is an awesome kid to have in class. Kyle is currently employed at Stairworks Inc. in Telford, and he spends a lot of time making stairs and staircases, and what he said he will miss the most is in class he gets to choose his projects and make things that he wants to make, where at the staircase he's making this, well, all different kinds of stairs, but he's working with stairs every day. So he's looking forward to, after graduation, he's going to keep the job, but hopefully find something where he has more ability to be creative. Kyle is an avid outdoorsman, loves the hunt and fish, and he stays local. He hunts and fishes in Bucks County, loves deer and geese, hunting deer and geese, and he's also very competitive, so I'm going to put a little I in this. Kyle and I attended the trip to Williamsburg, Virginia, and they were harassing me before I went because they didn't want me to come, but I told them they did want me to come. And he said he was going to beat me at the go-karts, so my goal was to not let him beat me. We waited 2 days, that bugger beat me. It was first and second. Mr. Kennedy was in the dust. Only one time. Kyle said, well, what he'll miss most is the kids here and the ability to create things of his own. And Kyle is a great personality, very much a favorite in his class because he has a great sense of humor. So we will totally miss you and congratulate you. Okay, so can I have my first place people first because I would stick you at the end of the line. People that place first.
Advantage of it and continue on and good luck.
Thank you. Who of you are going out so that they know? Someone just said you're going to go out.
Oh,
Maybe you?
yeah. I might.
So they know you look because you know you can't talk to them.
Yeah.
So thank you for supporting them. Huh? No, you're not. Don't sneak it in your rooms. All right, thank you.
Okay.
The cake. You guys can grab a piece of cake. It was delicious.
You have to take.
So you guys, that was it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, congratulations.
Hey, good job, guys. Really. You're on your way.
Thank you. You have your paperwork? You have your paperwork? Mr. Dr. Pereira, would you please walk into the achieving
I'm going to film tonight.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, I first would like to draw your attention to the donations report. I usually leave that to last. But I want to point out a couple of nice donations here. One, the first is almost 2.5 tons of steel donated by Schlosser Steel to our welding program, worth about $800. But the next one is a $20,000 donation of diesel equipment from Lehigh County Career Technical Institute. Of course, they're up in the home of Mack Truck. So they get lots of donations, and they were happy to share with us. So we have an end-drive Mack transmission. That's a fascinating piece of equipment. And essentially, it's an automatic transmission for a tractor for replacing the old 18 gauge, double clutching all the way. It's fascinating. I was watching videos on it today. So that more of a standard Mack transmission and a differential. So I couldn't believe the $20,000 number. So I told the director myself to check on that. And he said, "Use it with help." Yes. And so I will send a letter to the JOC on your behalf, if that's okay with you, to thank them especially for this. Okay, moving on. Just a couple quick notes. I did have a request for some information about paperless, using the paperless system here. So I want to point out that we have been, we're not paperless because we're using paper, but you do have the option of downloading all the documents for our board meetings using the Google Drives. So that may be something that you want to consider. I know some of you are using Word docs. It may be that that's a better system, or this is a free service from Google, and all you need is a Google address to download it. But Tracy's been doing that for two years maybe, I guess. So they are available online, but if you would like something different, just let me know, and we'll look at maybe upgrading to something prefer.
Yeah, and you said our device is, we have access to it here, right?
Yes, yes, we have Wi-Fi in here.
Because there's no point if I have to print it.
No, that would be counterproductive.
I'm sorry,
I was thinking, is your paper or is my paper? Either way.
It's paper, that's what I
Paper,
said,
that's
yeah,
right.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And yours is so much nicer than mine.
And your ink is not better too.
So if there's any change that you want there, just let me know. I want to say a couple words about grants. We were just awarded the $50,000 equipment grant. So we will be buying additional equipment for the diesel program, not the donation stuff, but diesel, electric, and precision machining. We each get a piece of that $50,000 grant. This is the matching grant, yes. Yeah. So, and we also are in line for the supplemental grant. That's a $3 million statewide grant. It's formula driven, but we are expecting to get our share of that. And we have a pretty healthy list of wish list of things that we're asking for. We don't know how much we'll get yet, and I'll report back.
First, the state has to get involved.
Yeah. And Kathleen, is there anything you want to add? Because Kathleen has done a great job keeping these grants moving forward. So,
The equipment grant is matching, we pay $50,000, we get $50,000. We're very strategic, all the programs give us a list based on our occupational advisory committee recommendations of equipment. We use that for budgeting, and we plan ahead to identify what pieces of equipment we'll target for Perkins, for equipment grant, to make sure that we save as much money for the school. Last time we got the supplemental equipment grant, so they don't offer it every year, right? But it's the easiest grant to write. The last time we got about $33,000, so we're hoping minimally to get that much. The nice thing is they announced it yesterday. It's due by March 31st. So it gets divided on who meets the deadlines, and thankfully we're organized enough that we're going to be able to meet those deadlines. Maybe we'll get more because other people won't meet it.
now, I'm not saying there's any relationship here, but when Kathleen says it's the easiest grant to write, it also happens to be the one that I typically like to do every year. No? Just a coincidence that it's an easy one. Okay. At our next meeting in April 21st, PICO would like to send representatives here to award us with a check, one of those big cardboard checks. We've actually already got the real check for approximately $18,500, a little under there. Just as a reward for our selection of efficient electrical equipment throughout the renovation project. And I have to thank two people here for really bird dogging this, and of course Joe Murphy is one of those people who stuck with this, and our architect Kevin Gottschall. They collaborated, put a lot of data together to get that award. So but I guess it's a little bit of a public relations thing for people as well. So they would like to be here with the big cardboard check.
Thank you very much.
We got the little real one.
Neil has the real one.
It's the least they can do for the hassle they put us through for the service.
We didn't say anything until the check cleared.
Okay, I'll just mention this quickly. On Saturday, March 19th, I will be at the Upper Horsham High School for ManuFest 2016. I think it's the third annual event now, and it's really meant to generate interest in automated manufacturing in the area. We had a table when it was held at Sallerton, where Mike Herrera and I will head to Hatboro for this one. And after talking with Dr. Harner, we're trying to get one of the events to happen up in Upper Bucks County. So if everything works out right, the timing, the project will be finished, and we are lobbying to get them to do it here. Because what we've seen is while we're happy to go, there's almost no students or representation from Upper Bucks. It's very local, so really only the local tech schools should be there, but we'll still go. We'll still go. Okay, the last piece in my report is the biggest piece. I just want to talk a little bit about adult education, because we've hit the point now where we're at a crossroads here. We're going to have to make some decisions, or frankly, you're going to have to make the decisions on what direction you'd like to go with adult education. So approximately 2 years ago, roughly speaking, we curtailed the evening programs. We didn't curtail adult education, we curtailed evening programs. So there hasn't always been places for adult students in our day programs. And we also kept one program running because the break continuity would have been to lose it. And that's doing the emissions testing for automotive. But at that point, you may remember that we furloughed or laid off the adult ed coordinator. And we also eliminated 2 other positions. Well, we eliminated 1 position, part-time secretary, and we moved the maintenance worker to the day shift. So that is an area that we need to talk about. I mean, because there has been some savings, of course, there. But if we're looking at approaching this aggressively in a way that is going to be profitable for the school, I think it's going to be important to get the right people in place to make this work, because it's going to be an evening, you're going to need a staff to make this work. So we have ideas, we have people who, we've been, I don't know, passive is not the right word, but we haven't really been aggressive, but we've been recruiting and scouting and looking for people who have unique background and skills to do a great job of this. And at some point, I'd like to share that information with you. At the same time, we have a lot of ideas. We didn't want to just start with nothing, so we have ideas to present to you. And one of the things that's been happening that's been interesting, and that's the community college has approached us on several different program areas. They're clearly looking for a partnership with us. And what that partnership looks like, neither one of us knows yet, or whether or not you even want to pursue that partnership. So we figured that's step one, to sit down and talk about what it is that they're suggesting and what it is that this school would want from that relationship. So for instance, they have looked at our Jiffy Lube room, that little room that's out in front there, which is really a kind of a unique space because it's really dislocated from all the other student areas. So you could actually have a class in there. We would have to put a bathroom in there, but it's a space that's not connected where our secondary students are. So it's really almost like a satellite campus that's on the campus. So they've approached us about renting space or doing some other type of collaborative effort to have one of a couple different programs. One might be a metalworking program. Similar, it's part of a vetting process for an apprenticeship that's already happening at the lower end of the county on the old Roman Haas campus in Bristol. So they have and Kathleen and I have gone down and looked at that setup. It's pretty primitive, compared with what we're doing here, but at the same time, it serves a very specific purpose well, which is to find people and to launch them into an apprenticeship in that area. Another program that they've asked about is, and this is one that I'm really in favor of, is industrial maintenance mechanics. So the scope of work for an industrial maintenance mechanic covers a lot of territory. Virtually any commercial building is probably going to have some type of work that person could qualify for. So it's everything from the PLCs, that's the logic control work, like the software for doing motor starters and things like that, all the way up to fabrication of parts, belts, drives, pulleys, chains, sprockets, that sort of thing. It's everything that you would expect a person who's working for a manufacturer to be able to go down on the floor, whatever their floor looks like, and keep their equipment working. And as you can imagine, I mean, this is a big area for that. Between here and the Lehigh Valley, it seems like it's unlimited work. So they are interested in that, and they're asking if we're interested in doing something with them. Again, the devil's in the details, but I think now is the time, now that we've sort of got the bulk of the building work behind us, for us to sit down and talk about what it is that you want here to happen tonight. Another possible, I'm sorry.
Do you want to work with the full committee on that, or you want to get a small group of KSC members together?
Well, I think.
Meet more often, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's your call, obviously. Well, I mean,
My recommendation would be to get the overarching vision and non-negotiables of each individual JOC member. You know, what is it you want to see out of our adult ed? Is it a service to the community? I know that when we curtailed it because of construction, some of the concerns were we're the only game in town for machining and welding. And so some people had said they don't want to lose that. That if we do nothing else, they don't want to lose welding and machining. You know, I guess, what do people, where do your values lie in terms of what's offered to the community and what that should look like? And then I think in a smaller committee, we can look more detailed. Like we've talked about doing customized training. So we've reached out to the HR recruiters at Grandview. So you have a shortage of nursing assistants. Can we design a customized 12-week training program looking at our secondary task list to ensure quality, using that equipment in that space to deliver you some qualified employees at the end of that 12 weeks, and I'll put in a type of apprenticeship. The same model can work for machining, which is the model the Bucks County Community College uses in the southern part of the county. So we've had our feelers out to get information from people, and I think our personal belief is we could rent to the community college, they could use our space, our community would be served, but we have to make sure that it's a very agreeable agreement, and none of us have experience with what that might look like, so that assistance would be great. If we do the adult ed ourselves, the only way we're gonna make money is not to go back to running hobby classes where you're really not making money. We need a really clear tie-in with our career link. Our career link will pay for people to get training here, and we also need to have a strong link with our employers so that we have placement for those people who are getting trained. So Burn's been in coordination with the WIB to talk about them having a career link office here, so people who need retooled or underemployed can come in and actually go through the process. We can connect them with our employers, because we certainly have an employer base to do that, and then they can be trained here in the evening, or even in our day program.
And that, by the way, is one of the first critical questions we need to answer is would you be willing to donate some space to the Workforce Development Board? You know, and remember, that's where the federal dollars are getting funneled through that board. They have a branch of that board is the career link. And that's where the counseling happens, that's where classes get set up, and that's where people come to get in touch with the board. And so they've reached out to me to say, you know, would you consider giving us a little bit of space somewhere in your building where people who are looking for work can come and talk to someone? You know, so that I mean, that's another discussion that we have to go deeper into, but so we're at the point where people are asking us for very specific things and for general things, but we don't want to move any further without knowing what your goals are for adult education, continuing education.
We're not ready for a small group.
I think we are. I think we are ready for a small group just to get conversation going. I mean, I think it's gonna. It has to be.
Of course, it's got to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to bounce things around.
I've already volunteered and
Yes.
spoke up, you know, before, and I would like, something I would like to work on. I think one of the key things, and it's been mentioned here, is whether we're gonna look at it more as serving the community in the hobby aspect or serving the community in a more professional way. And I wanna look at it, we can do maybe some of both, but whatever we do, I want it to be done as best we can. And we definitely have to make profit. I mean, you know,
Certain things.
well, yes, well, I mean, not lose money, but hopefully make a little profit. And I think, you know, some of these things of working with other organizations or other things, you know, we have to take a look at, take advantage of, because this is a professional development school, and it is a tech school, so those are the kinds of things which we should be interfacing with. And, you know, helping people to better prepare or retrain for other types of jobs and those kinds of things, puts working people back into the community. And I think that should be our major concentration today. You know, there may be a few programs that we could run for more hobby-oriented things, but maybe they could be shorter, or, you know, they may not be, but take a look at it and see what we can come up with. But wherever we do, I just want it done very well. And not lose money.
agree with what you said. I really want to see it, but it could be serving people who need to retool their jobs and that kind of stuff. I think that would be excellent. I guess, is there room for like Bucks County to set up thing here, or the career link? I mean, you said you had.
I think we could make the space. Yeah, we could make the space. And when I was in LCTI, we had an office there, so I know what it looks like. It's not a lot of room, but it is worthwhile, because keep in mind that, you know, the former WIB is now the Workforce Development Board, and it was reorganized over this past summer by the federal government, and the county, all the 3 tech schools were left off the board. However, education was represented through the IU and through community college. So knowing that the federal dollars are going for training, are going to go through the WIB, I think it's in our best interest to keep a strong relationship, especially with the community college, because, you know, post-secondary and adult education is going to be where a lot of that money flows to. And I think if we're going to do this, there's a lot of dollars that are waiting for somebody who's set up to reach out.
I want to sound skeptical with Fed, but you always have to watch with Fed, because there's always something tied to it. And,
They give you $1 and take your.
yeah, so, you know, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't, but, you know, experience is the best teacher, and been there before.
Understood. All right, so how about can we leave it as if you think it over and you want to be on the smaller committee, that maybe we could meet during the day, maybe you know, here.
Sure.
Just let me know, and we'll try to get something started. That concludes my.
Any questions, Mr. Byrne, from anyone? Okay, now we're gonna jump back, we kind of changed our, format here a little bit. We're gonna ask for anyone who wants the public or any comments to make, address the board.
Is this the beginning of the agenda or the?
Well, yes, it's the beginning, but.
I think I signed up.
Yeah, Mr. Kenny has signed up and wasn't here, so we waited for him to reach.
I appreciate that. I wanted to talk to him.
I was gonna make comment at the end of the meeting.
Okay, fine.
Again, I have another letter. I think I gave you some letters last month. This one came the day after last month's JOC meeting from a former student. And basically, I'm here to speak again about policy 118. And I realize that in all likelihood, it's going to pass tonight. But what I'm asking is that this policy not be used as a tool to close cabinet meetings. I know the program's under-enrolled, and that you all have financial responsibilities to the people who elected you to keep costs down. But again, I'd like to say that I don't think the program is going to give it a fair chance to build enrollment. As part of the policy that you're going to vote on tonight, its predecessor, which was enforced until you change it, there was a root cause analysis that was set up to create plans for under-enrolled programs in order for them to increase enrollment. And this plan was put together for cabinet making in 2012, and according to the policy, it should have been reviewed and revised annually, and it wasn't. A few other things, I spoke to you last month, let you know that cabinet making program had been removed from the course offerings for Palisades School District, which makes it, extremely difficult to recruit a student if they don't think the program exists. And that the guidance departments at Quakertown and Penn Ridge were also informed that the program would be closing. So if the guidance counselors are telling that to prospective students, basically I feel the students that I did get were ones that really were foursquare. They knew exactly what they wanted and they really wanted it bad. And even though they were told that the program may close, they chose to enter the program anyway. And what I'm asking is that board, I'm going to be making a decision in the next few days. I need to do this for the benefit of my students. I need to decide exactly what I'm doing as far as am I going to retire. And my options are retire in June, come back next year. I've discussed with administration possibility of coming back for half-time next year so that some of my students can finish out their program and that we wouldn't put any new students in it, and I would work half-time until the students graduated. Or keep coming back. In fact, Byrne, and I don't think, this is definitely not a possibility, but he said you could come back for 10 years if you want. Well, I'm not coming back for 10 years. I have to decide soon, in the next few days. I have to discuss it with my family. Because it's unfair to my current students. They need to know whether there's going to be a program or not for them available next year. Because they're going to have to make some hard decisions. Do they want to come to tech school at all? What's the program that you mentioned today? I keep forgetting it. It's like a work study,
It's our career internship program.
career internship. Some of
They
them,
could get a
especially
job.
seniors, would have that option. I know Byrne told me today that he's working, trying to find out if career internship would enable the students working in the cabinet-making field to still compete at Skills USA, to still take the NOCTI. Because that's one of the hardest parts for me, is I have seniors or juniors this year that are outstanding students. You met one of them, Isaac, tonight. That will not have that opportunity to take the NOCTI next year if you close the program. And if the program closes, he can't take the NOCTI. That will eliminate his opportunity to gain as many as 9 college credits at schools all over the state of Pennsylvania. Because our articulation agreements, if you get advanced on that, in fact, I think Isaac could probably take the NOCTI tomorrow and get advanced on it. But he won't have that opportunity. He won't have the opportunity to compete. He's again going to states. He came in 4th last year. You never know what the competition is going to be, but I fully expect him to medal at states this year. He could possibly win it, which would give him a chance to go to nationals, which would mean if he comes back his senior year, wins states again, he's been to nationals, has that experience behind him. I've had one national championship in my career with a student, and he went 2 years in a row, came in 11th in the nation his junior year, went back his senior year and killed it, won the national championship. And with those victories, he got $20,000 in college scholarship money. He got a crate filled with every power tool that DeWalt Corporation makes shipped to his home as part of his first place. These are opportunities that I have students that won't have. I also said last month, business and industry, they've taken cabinet making off the high priority occupation list for Bucks County. But I don't think they look carefully at Upper Bucks County, because this area is like no other I've ever seen as far as the opportunities for woodworking jobs. I have more employers every year calling me, asking me if I have students that they can hire than I have students to fill those positions. So I would hope that the board would see fit to give hire a new teacher, find somebody with a lot of energy. I mean, you hired a new guy last year, Caleb Miller. He's doing an outstanding job. He's young, he's got that energy, he's the drive that I have to admit, it's harder and harder for me to maintain the level that I've tried to maintain for 32 years when I'm 64 years old. And hopefully if you hire somebody young, with enthusiasm, with ability, you can rebuild that program, get the enrollment up, get the 100% cooperation from the administration, student services. You can talk to your home districts, guidance departments to stress the importance that there's high-paying jobs out there for the skilled students, and there's good, decent-paying, living wage jobs for even special needs. And I made that point last month, that it's one of the few occupations left where you can take a special needs kid. And last time I talked about the high number of special needs kids in my class, and I didn't mean to say that to imply that the administration had somehow devised a plan to stick all these kids in. And I thought I mentioned I was a victim of my own success because I was successful at training in one little area of woodworking these special needs kids, that I was able to get them full-time jobs. And those jobs are out there for them. And they're not there in carpentry or other construction trade fields or machining. There's no demand for somebody who's going to sweep the floor all day in a machine shop, or somebody that's going to just back nail decks and roofs for carpentry. But there are niche jobs for woodworkers where they might be working in a finishing department or finishing prep department or sub-assembly, where it's more like factory work. And the lower skilled student can still get a good paying job and have a living wage. And because of those reasons, I'm urging you to consider keeping, if I decide to retire in June, that I would hope that this group would work to give a chance to a new teacher to rebuild the enrollment in the program and let it continue for at least 3 more years. From what Mr. Wagenstein said, if I were to stay for 3 more years, we would keep it open. So the only hard part is going to be finding that person that's willing to come in and do the work necessary to get it. If that doesn't happen, if you can't find a qualified candidate, you can't find somebody that's willing to do that, come in and try, then you'll have your be able to close the program. But I believe we should give it a chance. And that's what I would say.
Thank you. Jenny.
Yes, good evening, thanks. Kind of following up what Mike said. I'm Nancy Overton. I'm a resident of the Palisades School District, and I've been an employee here since 1986. And I was hired over 30 years ago, and since then I have really grown to love this place, and the people in it, and everything it stands for. I believe in the school's mission, and I've seen firsthand all the fruits of our labor. After 3 decades, I can truly say without hesitation that the education we provide here has enhanced and advanced with every passing year. And while I'm pleased with what we offer every student, I'm particularly proud of the education we offer our special ed students. In this area, our team of teachers and administrators have done and continue to do an extraordinary job. We've seen many of our special needs students go on to win medals, accomplish goals, and earn salaries that would make any parent proud. Many of them were here tonight. But it's also the ones that slip by without much notice that need to be recognized. I appreciate the saying, it's not how high you climb, but how far you've traveled. I don't have to tell you how many of the students, our students and yours, have had a rough start and have traveled on rocky roads. And while they might not be all honor roll students, their accomplishments are sometimes nothing short of miraculous. Special ed students are notoriously expensive to educate, and I believe, and you must too, that the dollars we spend now are reaped manyfold in the future.
A young person with a diploma and a skill is far more likely to be a contributing member of our community than a burden. And since so many of our students stay in our community, they become our tax base, and their children are our future customers. And I really want to thank you for all your commitment to education, and to this school in particular. And without the support of this board and these administrators, we would not have made these huge strides in the education we provide here. And with my perspective in mind, I would ask you to consider my humble opinion on the discussions that will inevitably take place regarding the potential closing of the cabinet-making program. One of my tasks as a special education teacher is to help students decide upon and be successful in a program that matches their ability and their interests and will lead them to competitive employment and continued education. In this capacity, cabinet making has played a vital role. There were years when the enrollment in cabinet making was 90% special education. The overall enrollment might have been low, but the amount of effort poured into the class was just as great. Mr. Kennedy has been an exceptional collaborator in training our students. He is a king at de-escalating problems and a master at modifying and accommodating for special needs. It's been a class where I could confidently place a student who has interest, but not necessarily all the prerequisite skills. And I've witnessed them learn to measure and manipulate fractions and find real meaning in mathematics. Although both cabinet making and carpentry work with wood, there are significant differences. A cabinet making student does not need to have great strength or tolerance for inclement weather. There's a greater emphasis on finishing, which is more tactile and has a therapeutic aspect to it. It's a craft that can be practiced well into old age. And more than any other program in the construction cluster, non-traditional female students have consistently enrolled in cabinet making. It is one of the few programs where I can say to a student, in this class you will learn how to operate all of this equipment, but then you can decide what projects you want to create. And creative freedom has been a vital motivator for many of our students. For Penridge students, there is still an option to pursue woodworking, as long as that woodworking class fits in their schedule and their class isn't full. But will there be time and attention for the special needs student who needs remediation in measuring and math? And what will happen to the Palisades and the Quakertown students who might benefit from cabinet making in the future? How will they pursue their transition goals? When my program, Career Choices, was closed, the closest analogy to how I felt might be what it feels like to have a limb amputated. It was a great personal loss, but I did not come and stand before you and argue against it. I accepted it as a painful step forward, so I don't want you to think of me as a complainer. I can accept a tough decision, but in this situation, I'm asking you to consider all the ramifications. Mr. Kennedy's retirement is likely to precipitate a change in our program offerings that will be difficult to reverse. With every retirement, a transition is expected. But why should his retirement hurry the closing of cabinet making? Like you said, a good hire. The class would have a great opportunity for revitalization and a fresh perspective. You can see what happened in our culinary program, how fabulous that is right now. Rather than gut this program, why not see what a new teacher could offer? Please consider innovation, technology, and a thorough house cleaning instead of racing. A program can be closed at any time for low enrollment. Why not give this program a shot with a new teacher and see what happens, rather than using retirement as a trigger for closing it? Thank you. I know you have a lot of decisions to make, and I just really felt I needed to say something. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. It was good to hear from you. Since you're so close to the situation and have to experience it. And your words and thoughts are well received. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. All right. Committee reports. Here comes facilities.
Okay, I asked Kevin to stay in case there are any questions. We had, the facilities committee met and went over, some, additions. So I'm gonna use that word additions, to, modify the, 2 areas of exhaust in the welding lab. To also install a, exhaust system in graphic arts and, to repair, snow damage on the roof at the ag court, for a total of $15,080. There was money in, the allowances, so rather than, going to motion, the committee, approved to have it done, as allowances. So there is, no motion required by this committee. Are there any questions for the architect right here as to where we are? The project, and I'm not going to use the word done until it's done, because as you see, right now I'm doing manual manipulation of a climate, okay? They're still working on the HVAC, they're getting very, very close. I don't have everything yet. So I would have loved to have been able to sit here on my tablet and kick the temperature down a little bit, but I had to do it the old way. It seemed to work. So that's what's that?
Open the window.
Open the window, yes, the manual. I did the 15% adjustment. Then also that, as you wouldn't know, but we have instituted the access card. So all the employees now have a new card, and everybody's orange for whatever reason. And if who's the speaker of the house? Who's his name? The old guy who was orange.
O'Neill.
Huh? Boehner, yeah, he was the same color as Boehner.
O'Neill.
Okay, so right now, the way it stands is all the building is, all the doors are locked during the day. So if you want to get in and get out and move in and out of the building, you need access cards. So that, we're tweaking that. So that part's working good. The gate will be part of this, so it's in the near future, when that gate is all done, that'll be on this, so the gate will open and close with the access card or scheduled, yes, the lower gate.
You mean you tell us we're all gonna look like Joe Murphy?
Yes, well, yes, this is, could be a plus or a minus, you know what I mean? So, that's where we are with that, so things are coming together, we're really starting to close it up. Now I did, there were in, GCO's, employee was in to do another punch list last week. So I asked them for a comprehensive punch list as to what they have, so I can review it and make sure everything's on there, and then we'll go in and start getting making sure that we get the stuff done. But things are working pretty good. We're finding some problems, but it's gonna take probably a year to work all the bugs out. They're minor. It's like a room gets too hot or whatever, lights don't go on and off the way they're supposed to, but somebody's car, they can't get in the door, but we're working through all those things, so I feel good about that. There was 2 handouts there. Are there any questions for the architect at this time about anything that's going on?
You just mentioned the punch list, that was one thing I was curious about, how extensive is it?
Well, here's what happened is, we had, as we occupied spaces, I've asked the user, would be culinary, diesel, whatever, that whatever problems they find, to give it to me, and when I took that information, and I turned that over to Brent, all right? The architects, as different areas were completed, the architects and the engineers came in. On some of the stuff, they couldn't do a punch list until it was completed. So they came through last week and did a final list. So I told them, what I would like to see is a comprehensive list. Give me a list of everything that we have, the stuff that we sent, the stuff the architects have sent, the stuff the engineers have sent, so that I can look at it and see a comprehensive list and make sure that that I think we've captured everything. All right, some of the stuff that was on that list has been addressed, I'd love to see that as well. Because if somebody said, if we said this was a deficiency, and they said they'd addressed it, I want to go back and make sure that it has been addressed. Okay, so, I haven't received that yet, but I was gonna send an email and get to Dale tomorrow.
I know he's working on it.
Okay, so, so that's where we are with that, okay?
What about all warranties on equipment and, you know, goods purchased and things, I mean?
We haven't received any, user manuals, or I haven't received anything yet. We're supposed to get a hard copy, and I asked for an electronic copy. In the past, what they do is they give you 3 or 4 hard copies of everything, you have boxes and binders. So they give you 1 hard copy,
That
and give
should
you an
have been a
electronic copy.
submittal.
Okay, I have not received that yet.
It should have been in the beginning.
So,
Well, a lot of times those warranties start
That's not the way my
when,
company did it.
don't they start, Kevin, when you use it, start using it?
Yes, they started substantial completion.
Right, so, you know, we should, depending upon how they date the warranty and what we're using, you know, we want to keep track of that so we know where we are,
oh yeah.
so. Okay.
Okay. Then I'll bring your attention to the 2 other documents you have. This document I gave out, I don't know what you call it, it's the, I guess it's the report of what we spent, okay? Those numbers, if you look over for work construction, under remaining allowances, all of the $15,000 will come out of that, so that would be reduced by $15,000 tonight, okay? The other numbers are unchanged, and to the best of my knowledge, we do not have anything with these other contractors that we're requesting from them, okay? If you look at the second document, that is considered, says salt cost,
Yeah.
okay? This is, and I'll speak for Gail, but pretty accurate. What happens is, this is everything that has been paid, okay? So there are some encumbrances yet to come in on these. Some of those would be for, I think we had to clear up some stuff with moving and storage. I think it was about $1,000, another $1,000. I think there was some equipment and rental. We had a lift installed. That's another maybe $1,000 or whatever. Furniture. We just got a delivery of furniture, phase 4. It has not been booked yet, and we've also added an additional amount that went out. So that's not in there yet. That's probably a little bit higher. It's 30. We're probably in the $80,000 part there, but we're still looking at what we budgeted for furniture. Furniture is still under that money that was budgeted for furniture. The company hasn't even begun yet. That's just that. And I'll tell you what, the furniture, when you go through in the program areas, it is really high quality stuff, really good, well built. The company is horrible to work with. It's a family company, and I think they're, even though not everybody should be having a job, everybody has a job, you know what I mean? So, but the stuff is really good stuff. It really is good quality. So other than that, I think this number is pretty good. I don't think there's going to be a big change to this as far as that. So there should be some money left in the short stuff there. So other than that,
How much money are we holding yet?
Yeah.
for, that's what I was gonna contact you because I want to go back to Bill tomorrow and get an idea of what we're still holding on 20, okay? So because we're getting close there, and then the other one I want to find out is in the for the kitchen equipment stuff. because there was some stuff in there that we asked to have, replaced. But they sent us the stuff that doesn't fit, and some other things had to be done, and that's with Devon. And Devon is just, I can't use the term in mixed company. They're horrible, they're horrible. Yeah, so they're the two. Devon's a problem child, Twining is just, we wanted to wait until we had, with the floor, and I think that, so we'll see what's happening, I don't wanna talk about that. But
All I
that's
need is
it.
a number, I don't need the account.
Right, okay. And I'll have that information, and I'll also keep the, wash out in the circle.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
That's my report.
thank you. Any
Okay.
questions?
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
Okay, moving on, moving on.
See you next week.
Policy.
See you next week.
This is gonna be very short. We discussed 118. There were two very minor revisions from the last time we saw last month until now. And then we're requesting respectfully that we take policy 717, which is how we use our wellness and fitness center for our employees, and take that to first reading tonight. Any questions?
So if someone wanted to have like a weightlifting club, is that not possible under this, or?
It is possible,
It is.
yeah.
Two, three.
For students?
Students.
So this is a new policy?
Yes, and
Yes.
and Tracy can actually answer any questions for the hers.
In the AR, the administrative regs covers the ability to be able to have a student
Okay.
club, but it must be run by a trained
Teacher? Yeah.
teacher, which would be Joel Ritter,
Jamaica.
or Jamaica.
We had a return and review this to be sure we have enough coverage and protection
Yes.
for outsiders and/or.
We're not
students
bringing
themselves.
outsiders in.
It's gonna be open for, well, okay. But
Faculty, but they still have to.
is that enough of a waiver there saying, oh, yeah,
Yeah, actually, Bill brought up the fact that at the bottom of the waiver, we should say that we've read the policy 717 and the AR 717, and make sure that that's part of that waiver. We went off of Palisades, actually. We used whatever Palisades had in place, and made it fit us.
okay.
Are our policies reviewed by the attorney?
Yes. We contract with
That's what we
PSBA,
did. Yeah.
and they review them.
And the actual solicitor would use their employees.
Yeah, most of the time we use their cookie cutter, but they're geared towards all schools, and sometimes they don't really address career and tech ed as well.
Our solicitor reviews all our policies, so.
Yeah, so ours reviews
It's a
everything.
good practice then, especially today.
I know,
Yeah.
because we did battles.
Our solicitor is also working on a generic waiver. Our school, the history of our school has been there's waivers, different departments, different programs have written their own waivers for things. And we recently discovered that, and in conversation with Mr. Katz, did a little bit more research, and he's going to help us to write and rewrite waivers as we need to, so that we have the proper waivers. It came about of the field trip that was brought up here last month. And if you remember, I asked for the waiver, because the teacher said I had a waiver, and I said, well, then, can we have a look at it? And I shared with Mr. Katz, and that sort of sparked the whole conversation, and led us down a road to where we realized that we need to not have employees writing their own waivers. Yeah, I mean, it happens over years, decades, but it's happened. And the first thing we did was reach out to our insurance company, under his advice, to see if there was a waiver that they want us to use, and there is not. So he will make sure that we have waivers to cover us, that he approves of.
Anything else? All right, number 7, we have a plan final letter from the February 24th for approval.
So moved.
Do you have a second? Second, any questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So moved. You skipped since, the, other issues of the, allowances was taken care of by allowances 8 and 9, you skipped. And we're going to 10, the consent calendar, where we have the approval of February minutes, acceptance of the February financial statements and reports, and the approval of the March bills payable. I do have something on the bills to discuss. And it has to do, I guess, Gail would be a good one to ask this question to. It's just, I had questions on the reporting. You know, sometimes these things, you know, they do them every month and they become kind of mundane, each department, you know, for supplies and things. But, you know, I found some things in here where I think, you know, it would behoove us to do a little more detail in them, because someone could, you know, ask questions and be open to asking questions. Like, I'm particularly in carpentry, Caleb, you know, in breaking down what he spent, some things. I mean, there's one thing in here where a 15-inch cobalt bars is $400 and some dollars. I mean, you know, is that one bar or is it 2 dozen bars, or, you know, things like that. And I know it's a legitimate purchase and supplies, but the way it's written and presented, I think there should be a little further breakdown of quantity. And when it comes to, you know, purchasing the lumber too, like just mentioning the lineal feet and the steel. There's several in welding and so forth. There's mentioned buying steel. You know, that's what the program is, steel. But he lists the sizes, but he doesn't, and he gives the price, you know, maybe $482 for a 1/2 inch by, you know, 3/4 by whatever it is, but he doesn't give any linear feet.
Just so you're clear, they're, you know, teachers or whomever submits a requisition to our department, we type it in, but our typing length is, you know, like this. So then we export all of those to this Excel spreadsheet, and then I spend 2 or 3 hours going through it and trying to catch those things, but I don't catch them all. And, you know, a lot of it is very specific jargon, so I might look at it and think, oh, that looks okay, because I don't really know what I'm reading, if you understand what I'm
Right.
saying. Sometimes it looks like a typo, but it isn't, you know, we spend a lot of time trying to clean it up, but I'm not sure we're ever gonna be able to get to the detail you want unless I.
Well, you know, you have to knit. I mean, I'm looking here, like I use the carpentry here for hand tools. A Cobalt 15-inch pry bar, $455.
And see, I don't, to me,
Now-
that, just looking at it, I can't tell if that's a reasonable amount, because there are a lot of
That's
people,
like-
I'll
that's like-
catch them, and I'll say to my secretary, is that one or is that many? Because I can tell, it's a more
Yeah,
common
well,
thing,
that's
I
what I'm
can
saying. It's
understand.
just common, you look at it and you say, well, you know.
Well, I don't know what it is, I don't even know what a pry bar is.
Well,
There's other things.
whatever. But the
Yes.
thing is too, from a
Come on,
reporting look, and someone not knowing another board member who's like you, not familiar with what's a Cobalt, you know, whatever, that, you know, one other number, you know, 2 dozen or whatever it is, 25 pieces or whatever, would explain a lot.
Okay.
The other thing is, when you're doing budgets, you know, I don't know, even the teacher, if you go back and it's broken out, you can see, you know, specifically what something cost, what you paid for 2 years ago, what you're paying for today, and or who the best vendor was or anything else. So, I mean, I just, looking at it from that point of view, you know, you can look at this sheet at the end of the year and say, you know, where'd you spend all your money and who it was, and now, you know, you might find another vendor that gives you a better price, or, you know, and unless you have it broken down, you don't know. I mean, a little more specific. But that's just a few questions I have in that area, so.
I spent an hour and a half with Gail on Monday going through a number of items in here, looking at the bills, and I understand where she's coming from, you know, when you take food, it's a case of apples, a case of peaches, a case of pears, how you gonna break it all down and put that on there? And one thing they got me was $5,360 for mortar slabs for the bathroom.
Yeah, that's another one.
I mean, that really got me, but Joe came over and explained that the whole thing had to be changed, because of the assembly and the doors and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, no, again, I see where Gail's coming from, and it's what you're getting. Unless you wanna take the time to say, I'd like to see a copy of, at the meeting, you know, make me a copy of this, make me a copy of that, or stop in and visit.
Okay, no, it's just something like I said, I just thought that, I'm not trying to make your job more complicated, but for the board to review, see, that's all.
At least, okay. I always assume that any bill that's paid goes through at least two people, one of them being, in this case, the instructor. I mean, Vern's the ultimate responsibility on these things.
Well, the request starts with whomever wants the purchase, and it's approved by me for technical issues. Is there money in the budget? Do we have all the documents we need, et cetera? And it goes to that person's supervisor, and then if it's more than $200, it goes to Vern as well. So you sometimes have 3-4 people signing off on this.
Over $200 is the threshold?
That's Vern's threshold.
Wow, that's low, isn't it?
That means he signs a lot of stuff.
That's what I mean,
But
yeah.
the crowbar example would have gone from, like, obviously we would never let a teacher spend $455 on a crowbar. But that would have gone through Gail, through Dr. Herrera, because he's that program supervisor. Since I supervise Mike, it would then go through me, and then it would have gone to Vern. So, we do look out for things like that, making sure that the requisitions are asking for make sense.
Yeah, that's all checks and balances.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, but you can see why I questioned it, it's just, and hearing from you, as long as you have those checks and those things, that's fine. But, you look at the things sometimes and you just get puzzled. But,
Well, and,
like Bob said about I looked at that one too, and, so we just have all new doors put in, and, it's.
and I'll often ask people questions. I had a conversation with Dr. Herrera this morning on one that I had a question about, but when I get them, so I've got the purchase order requisition, and Gail's office is stapling all the additional materials. So I'll often see something that doesn't, I don't even know what that is. I don't have to turn the page and I can read the description, usually there's pictures, and it helps me to
Well, you could, you understand the process a little better.
yeah. So I have a lot more than this, when
Okay.
I look at it.
So I'm sure, I hope.
So,
Okay.
That was my point, that it's been vetted before it gets to this,
Yeah.
summarized before.
But thanks, Steve, now we have a process.
Yeah, well, see. Okay. Okay, so I guess policy 118, 11, no?
Gotta make a motion.
Oh, we didn't vote on that? I thought we voted.
So moved.
So moved, okay. All those in favor?
No, you gotta make a second. Somebody's got a second.
We didn't get a second? Wow,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is it on here about 117?
717?
717?
No, it's just a reading, and we have to change the reading.
First reading? Okay. Move on.
What, 717?
Never?
118. 118.
Trying to get us out of here.
All right, we look for a motion to approve policy 118 with the minor revisions that were highlighted and read and discussed. And it's recommended by the policy committee as the revisions as stated. We have a,
Did we just do that?
that's what we just did.
We just
What?
said the consent.
Just
You did the consent now, it's
Consent
10 to 11 now. So moved.
Second.
second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Number 12, the 2016-2017 calendar. We have a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Well, are we doing 12 or 13? Did we approve it here on revised?
This is 16, 17.
Well,
Two different years.
Revision, yeah,
Oh,
That's right.
Make a motion?
Does you have a motion? Second?
Got it.
No, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now 13 is 2015-16 revised calendar. That's attachment G.
So moved.
A motion to approve that, we have a motion, we have a second. Robert, have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, 14. We have announcement of 14, the household hazardous waste collection, which will be scheduled in the parking, the user parking lot on June 25th of 2016 from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. for paint and hazardous waste collection by the Bucks County Recycling for community household hazardous waste collection. Do you have a motion?
Make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Can we forward this out to the sending districts to put out on there?
Once you approve it, you can.
Well, yeah, I'll announce it too.
Right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Just
so,
to know that we did get the certificate of insurance from them today.
oh, good. All right, 15 is the fitness club, motion to approve use of the fitness center by qualified students from 2:15 to 3:15, 2 days per week with staff supervision.
So
There
moved.
I think, if any of you have any questions, there was a lengthy description of it in the policy and so forth, with the guidelines. Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second? Second, okay, William?
Question.
Yes, questions?
Staff volunteer, it's not an EDR position that we have to put up with, it's just, they're coming in and volunteering, they're qualified and.
It's actually from 2:15 to 3:15, the teachers are still on duty, so the two teachers that are involved are the law enforcement teacher, because it's basically his students that are doing the club, so it's those two, it's not beyond their school day.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. So moved. All right, 16 is a revised Skills USA State competition for students. A motion to approve the additional funds in the amount of $1,790 to cover the rooms for the Skills USA State competitions.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Robert. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Mitch. Mr. Anderson. Any discussion?
What changed? Everything's strict.
I have to take fault for that. I was planning a trip to Cancun instead, or Florida instead of Cancun, because I did one room, like I only charged one room and it was per person. So when I had 3 kids in a room, I only put the one charge when I did the original. So it's my bad.
So everything on the motion is stricken out, so you don't know what.
Yeah, you don't need, it was just the difference in the room. Nothing else changed but the rooms.
Can we bill her?
I just have a question, where is this again, where are they going?
Hershey Lodge.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay.
So I apologize.
Except they're not all at Hershey, some of them are somewhere else.
No, they're all in Hershey Lodge to sleep and eat. So they all get fed.
Competitions are.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So moved.
Tracy, there were 3.
We did not have any students who placed in the competition,
Oh,
so
okay.
we have no students moving on the states. We sent 6 kids, 2 of them were delegates, 4 of them were competitors. I thought the kids did a good job, I saw the project before they took it out, but they did not.
Okay, well, try.
They had a great time.
Okay, good. 18 is equipment grant, a motion to approve the operation of PDE's 2014-2016 equipment grant for the amount of $50,000. 15? Oh, 2015-16, sorry. 2015-16, for the amount of $50,000.
So moved.
We have a motion, second, Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 19, recognition and comments from the audience. Mr. Lidnow.
Yes, thank you.
Now that the school's been modernized and refurbished, I'm looking at your programs, and the first thing I see is this is a technical school, it's a trade school, and technology is very prevalent in our life today and advancing very rapidly. So the question I have is, are your programs up to date? And I look at the electrical program, the description, and I don't see that it really changed. And perhaps it needs modernization. And I'm only doing this on the saying this on the basis that I look at your description. I don't know what the course entails. But I see the internet and computer use and digital electronics prevalent everywhere we go. And are we staying up to date in the courses with what technology is being used out there? I mean, like motor controls are one thing, but there's a lot of instrumentation that's and sensors that are involved in all the technologies. And I would hope that students are receiving a basic electronic education, because in dealing with electronics and digital electronics, low voltage, et cetera, in all the courses where they may be dealing with higher technology. So that was my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. London. And I think, you know, especially the machine area is very much so up to date.
Yeah, and if I could just a quick response to this one. You know, all of our curricula are rigorous and updated constantly, and there's pretty tight regulations on us to do that. So the Pennsylvania School Code requires us to have occupational advisory committees. They are the employers in the area who come in, and one of the things they do is review the curriculum, the space, the equipment, and they provide input into ways that we need to change. And that is on top of the relatively new programs of study that the state has implemented. So in the case of electrical, and just for example, so a program of study provides us with the core curricula. These are the basics that you must have and you must be teaching, and that's a constantly changing curriculum. And then on top of that, the local employers come in twice a year, and they'll be in on April 6th or 7th for the next OAC, and they will review everything in that curriculum, and they make their recommendations. So, in the case of electrical, for instance, part of the equipment grant will be divvied out to that program, and that'll be an electrical trainer, and there is electronics involved in that trainer, but he has also gotten other equipment, you know, different classifications of wiring, like internet type and communications type category of wiring. So you really, I would invite you to come in and take a look at the program. I think you'd be impressed with what's going on down there.
I'd be happy to, but you're depending upon the local employers, and I don't know that the local employers are state of the art. And that's my concern, is you're teaching the kids to the level of the local employers, and maybe that's not where the big money is. So if you were to go into General Electric factory or something like that, you might find a totally different environment than you would if you go into Percy or something like that at a local employer there. And so how do you qualify your local employers as to state of the art or as to their level of technology?
I think the one thing that people don't know is that every single program we have here is a statewide program of study. So every 3 years, they bring employers, post-secondary from all over the state to weigh in on the task list and what skills needed to be taught in each of the areas. So if you're worried about some of our local employers not being up to industry standard, when they look at the curriculum at the state level, they include a vast representation of employers and post-secondary teachers to provide assistance.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were here last month when a lot of the people spoke.
I was here.
Yeah, well, Mr. Westberg, whose business is over in Red Hill, I believe, he stated at that time he went to Europe and bought $12 million of the latest, technological equipment, all CNC and computer-operated equipment,
Well,
so.
why do you have to go to Europe?
Why? Because that's where most of the leading equipment's manufactured.
Well, that's what my concern is.
Well, that is a concern, but
The concern is that the leading manufacturing equipment is in China and Germany and such, and then I don't know that the businesses here are up to that level. I mean, how do you know? You don't know. You're just depending upon them because they are the local employers, but you don't know where they stand in relation to the rest of the world. And I don't have a lot of faith in the state. Sorry, I just don't have a lot of faith in the state to do the latest thing. If this was California, it might be different, totally different environment. So I'm just saying,
Just one more comment though, but we do have state and national accreditation. So for example, all of our automotive-related programs have NATEC credentialing. So that goes state and national. Our Pennsylvania Builders Association is part of the National Home Builders Association.
American Welding Society for welding.
Yeah.
and
but if I went into small engine repair and asked the students about a formula for computing Ohm's law, would they be able to do that? Would they know what the difference between resistance and current and voltage?
I
Are
would
they?
be shocked if they didn't.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't see it in your paperwork, and that's what I have to go by. I'm not attending the classes.
I've written syllabuses and class descriptions before, and a lot of times it's very difficult to put every technical issue into a syllabus or an outline of a program.
Yeah.
It will say, technological, advances and so forth, but, you can't go down. I mean, today, they're changing quickly, like.
Yeah,
I mean,
it changes fast.
So it's difficult to keep pace with.
I'm only.
You don't have to worry though, Mr. Living, because I
I'm-
think the young group of people in this country, they're very good at innovation and with their hands out and taking, for nothing. They're right at the top, so.
I'm not criticizing, I'm only questioning, are we up to date? And I just want to see,
It's a good question.
I want to see technology in the name, not technical, I want to see technology. So,
I have a particular question, though, in the cabinet making shop program, how many special needs students can you get that number?
I thought we got that. Did we get that?
And I think I gave you the date at the last meeting.
Well, you showed me, but
Yeah, I have to remember off the top of my head, was it 67%, 50-something%? It was high.
and again, I mention that because my son was a special needs student in Palisades, he's now the head carpenter for the Walnut Street Theater. And
Well, we have how many special needs students in our
Well,
building?
40%,
How many?
40%, so 200.
200, we have well over 200 special
240.
needs students.
Well, that's the thing today, though, what did they determine as special needs?
Well, I was just gonna say, special needs could be a learning disability,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
necessarily
That's what I mean.
a cognitive disability.
Yeah, I mean, and our students, all of our students are doing, very well. As you know from our Montessori course, with 40% special needs students, we're doing very, very well with third-party assessments.
Yeah,
So all of our teachers are
more of
doing
the
a great
reason to
job.
keep programs open, though, unfortunately, like you said, you have to look at the dollars and cents value too. And me in particular, I like the dollars and cents value, but, and you also got to.
Well, you want to have programs that kids want to be in. And that serve our business and industry. And, the question is, does cabinet making serve, is there enough of an employer base here to support it? If that's true, we also don't have kids that are interested.
And I'm not trying to sound cruel, but a lot of, Mr. Kenny's spoken about the school hasn't, the administration hasn't done anything to promote it. The administration hasn't done this. The schools aren't that. You know who the biggest promoter is? Mr. Kennedy himself. He speaks for himself. When you, in that field, you go to the guy who has a reputation of being the best.
Well, and the other thing is, we're not getting rid of Carmen, cabinetry, you're gonna absorb, if it happens, it would be absorbed into carpentry,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is-
So it's not
which
like
is
a
fine,
losing that.
which is fine there, you know, it's just the challenge that is there, you know.
And there's no guarantee that if you were to hire another cabinet making teacher, there's no guarantee that teacher would have the same success with special needs students. It's not a special needs course.
Right.
So if one teacher has this knack for working with special needs students, it could be just the opposite, you know?
The program is designed for special needs, it's a different.
Right, but it's not.
But it's not.
It's not.
And the solution is
And that
there you
was
go,
more-
so no class is gonna be designed for, special needs learning support, it's inclusion all, it's pretty much across the, yeah. So every teacher has to adapt.
Right.
Well, you know, like the special needs,
And
if the
modify.
kid's ADD or some, you know, a mild learning disorder, it's just that that class has the kinds of ability, he can adapt, he can sand something, like you said, he can finish something.
Or they give them longer times to
Well, that's what I'm
complete a
saying,
project
they
or
can
something
do a
like that.
process that is,
I'm
you
guessing
know,
in this environment.
repetitive and longer, and gives them, it does build that skill. It's not that it's strictly designed for special needs kids, it's just that those types of kids can do those operations fairly well and be successful. And that's why it's, you know, so, you know, the special needs kids do as well, because the operations that are involved, there's places where they can do very well, because of the kind of repetitive repetition jobs where they can succeed.
So what does it look like if we put cabinet making in carpentry?
Well, and I'm using the North Montauk model, that's what I base my whole argument on for this. That they do not have a cabinet making program, and yet they are very successful in placing their students with cabinet making employers. So when I talk to the carpentry teacher who's been there for 35 years, and I say, you know, how are you doing that? He said, by teaching them the basic skills they need. There are no master technicians walking out of the high school classrooms. That might take 5 to 10 years before you're a master woodworker, you know? And
More
so
than that.
More than that. And so I understand that. So what I'm saying is, give them the basic skills they need to know how to measure and cut and take care of tools, treat tools the proper way. And employers will take it from there. And so it's, that was the example that I gave her. It was that teacher's cabinet making student who placed second in the state in cabinet making, and he wasn't a cabinet making student. So that's the thinking there, that it's not that we have to make the carpentry teacher a cabinet making teacher. That's not likely to happen. What we did, and I think our hiring so far, I think we've been really batting 1,000, is we hired a teacher, just like culinary and baking, we hired a teacher that fit what we needed. And we looked for a portfolio that wasn't just home building, wasn't just doors and windows. We saw fine woodwork in Caleb Miller's portfolio, and we knew that was the guy that we needed. He's gonna be able to build the house, and he's gonna be able to build the furniture that goes in it. Even though it doesn't make that a cabinet making program, not only will his students be able to get jobs with cabinet makers, but so will Mr. Moser's in our construction technology. The basic skills that we're providing our students with will enable employers who are interested in lifelong learning and professional development for their employees to take our students with the skills that they're leaving here with and mold them into the employees that they need. Even two cabinet making students going to two different cabinet making employers might find themselves on two very different roads.
Oh, yeah.
You know, technology-wise and product-wise, so that there's no guarantee that it's not apples to apples. It's give them the basic skills they need.
And you have to realize today that cabinet making today is not what it was 25 years ago. It's a totally different field. I was trained as a traditional cabinet maker. You know, I cut dovetails by hand, I hand plane, I know all the framing joints and the technology. I know how to fell a tree, cut the wood in a certain way, dry it in a way. I mean, I'm trained as a traditional cabinet maker, European style. There's no business in this county that I know of who has a need for that type of cabinet maker today, because they do not build furniture the way they built it 100 years ago. They just don't do it. You can't afford it, first of all. It's too expensive.
Loans approved.
And the only way you're going to have a fine cabinet course is if you're training fine cabinet makers like me, and they're not, there's very few like me, in the county. Yes, there are I mean, and I made furniture for many years, but, you know, you're not gonna teach a kid that, you wanna make this a fine cabinetry course, you didn't have it from the beginning. I mean, what Mr. Kennedy was teaching wasn't really fine cabinet making. It was just, you know, it was a step up above traditional carpentry, but it wasn't cabinet making. So, you know, you're not, I think they can do what Byrne is talking about, this Monto model that he's following. I think it's, you know, if you train a craftsman, you want to train as a craftsman. A craftsman is a guy who can have facility and dexterity with tools, know the principles, you know, of PLS and how to use it and apply it, and he knows what skilled work looks like. Then you can take that guy who has that basic training, he can go into a lot of different areas within what they call cabinet or furniture construction today. First of all, it's all turning into CNC work. As Mr. Whisper said, you got one machine, it'll cut out every part of that piece of furniture in one shot. And they're putting huge sheets of material in 5x12s, you know, 10 by, and it's routing it all out, boom, 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 and all the guys are doing is assembling. I mean, it's, you know, so.
But they need someone to program those CNC machines on machine.
Yeah, well, yeah, the machine kids, that's what I said, you know, they're getting the formal training to do the electronic and the computer part, and, you know, with that, now if they have some of the basic skills, you know, then that'll help the program, because they'll understand and they can visualize the piece that they're going to make, they can see it in their head, they can visualize it, and they know it, and so that's.
I just have a question, Tony. Based on the numbers, do we have capacity in carpentry to absorb additional students?
Yes, because the cabinet making numbers are so low, we do have that ability. Now, that's not to say there could be a rough bump year. You know, the transition is liable to be a little bit bumpy. But we do, and we don't have just carpentry. You know, we're hoping that some of our students will also want to consider construction technology as well.
Well, I think that the number of openings in carpentry for next year,
He'll have 17 right now coming back next year,
Out of 40.
out of 40.
so that leaves them 13 openings in
No,
cabinet.
carpentry. And
Cabinet
cabinet
making
making has
seven
11.
old.
They have 11 kids coming
And
back.
some of them are
And those are seniors.
So you have capacity?
No,
I just wanted to make sure we
we
weren't in a
did.
position where we would be denying somebody based
I
on
think six.
capacity.
No, but what's nice is that Mike has been
But they're the
working with
strongest
us,
classes ever.
because Tracy meets with the 7 districts next week to start placing those students. So we don't want to place students, new students into carpentry if we need to reserve that spot for cabinet making students. We're trying to
It
strategically.
definitely is. I mean, we're going to have to really work hard to make it, you know, as smooth a transition for them. Even if it's a little rougher on us, because I get what you're saying. Probably the biggest issue is going to be the Skills USA competition. And so,
And the Nazi.
and not, so 3 years ago, when a Quakertown student, I won't use the word sue, but they definitely went through the legal channels to have Quakertown pay the tuition for the HVAC program at North Monco. It was about $13,000 for that, because we don't have HVAC. The second that happened, that was not long after I got here, I started making plans, and then we went the long road, and we opened up a new program called the Career Internship Program. And that, the state's name for that is Diversified Occupations. It's a state-approved, 339 approved program that is meant for technical schools that are smaller and don't have 50 different programs to choose from, or have programs that are over-enrolled and don't want to turn students away. Because the state law says, if you don't have a program that a student wants, they have the right to, and can force the district to pay to send them somewhere else to get it. But if you have this program in place, that's why this is here. So if you have, let's say you have a 5 years from now, let's say cabinet making closes 5 years from now, you have a kid say, I want cabinet making. Well, we can say, we can get you an apprenticeship with a cabinet maker. You'll still be a technical school student, even though we don't have that program, and you can go to work and do an apprenticeship with them. And you'll get high school credit, you'll get the work-based experience, and you'll be able to take the NOCTI. So that's why we did that. It doesn't matter whether it's a cabinet maker or a kid who wants to get into journalism or law practice. It's anything that, the only stipulation the state has is you cannot have the program here and have seats open in it. So we can't take, say, a kid that wants plumbing and say, you're in the career internship program, go head out to work, while we have a plumbing program with open seats. You're not allowed to do that. That's considered using that program.
Sure.
So that's why we put it there, so we protected ourselves against the Quakertown HVAC situation happening again. So that equates to us now trying to work with the people at Skills USA to allow our career internship students, if it goes that way, to participate in Skills USA. Right now, they're saying no. They're saying, no, we're not gonna let you do that, and I'm fighting with them over this.
Well, that's my concern. I mean, you know, obviously, we can't control if he's retiring or not, but, and unfortunately, you know, it's gonna negatively affect some students.
Yeah.
You know, and by just saying we're merging programs, I don't think that's enough.
It's
For,
not.
you know, a student that's been here going into their senior year, which should be their strongest year, most likely, you know, and now you're putting them at a disadvantage, and, you know, I just
Well,
think
here's
you really
what-
need to be cognizant of that, and what you,
That's why we
you know.
wanna put them out to work on the job, which is traditionally where we want our seniors to be transitioning from school to work. So if they can get jobs that are local employers,
Yeah.
they can still continue
I
their
would just
training.
hate to see them, you know, continue for their senior year, and now they're in a program, and, you know, these kids feel like they've been shortchanged.
Well, they might be better changed throughout the.
It's possible, but I'm just saying, you know, that I think it's important
for
to be
the
very
seniors,
cognizant of
It's
that.
definitely a better option to go out to work,
Yeah,
not to
yeah.
go into the part-time
Yeah.
program.
So the real question becomes, how do you ever close any program?
No,
anytime?
it's true.
You know,
It's true.
and if PSEA made it possible to bring someone in temporarily until you close the program, it would be very easy.
Yeah.
But-
Would you consider keeping him for another pay?
Well,
That would be great.
yeah, if you would,
To
if you
get
would,
those students
Yeah.
through.
yeah, we
Well,
would.
then, that would be ideal.
Are you working with that, or
Well, we're certainly trying.
does he know that?
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
said that.
yeah.
No, he said he was interested. I didn't think that there was any difference.
Well, when he said I said he could work another 10 years, I did say that. You know, so.
Well, we know
so-
that's not happening, so.
No, but if let's say, if a teacher, and I won't keep using him, but let's say a teacher retired now and you wanted to close the program, if you could hire someone for a year to go through a transition as you close the program, that would be ideal. I think everyone would probably go for it. The problem is going to be, the union's never going to allow it. You're never going to be allowed to do that. It's going to get fought out.
We can put the program down to half-time.
Half-time, but if you hire an employee just to close the program, then when the students leave and you say, okay, now you're gone,
Can't do
Yeah,
that.
we can't hire a long-term
But we're
sub.
not closing it, we're transitioning it into,
No, but if we did, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
We're talking about 2 years, max.
We asked our solicitor if that was possible. It's not.
and that's why it's so hard to do anything when you feel so hogtied, you know. But technically, we would be closing cabinet making, but what we're saying is, for those who are interested in cabinet making, we have an alternative route to get you into employment, and you're gonna be just
I
fine.
think.
And that's why Tracy and I, when we met with the guidance counselors from the sending schools last January, not this past January, we said, when Mr. Kennedy retires, we'll make the recommendation of the board to close the program and move everything into carpentry. And it wasn't to dissuade students from enrolling, but it's about being
well, they
fair,
just
it's
need
about
to be
saying,
informed that
you
this
may
is
do
a
this
possibility
program,
that
but
is
you may not be able
perfect.
to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you'll have to transfer over to carpentry. I know that Mr. Kennedy was concerned about, the NOCD, and we do link NOCD to, statewide articulation agreements, which is great. I think one of the things that we struggle with is so few of our kids are qualifying because they don't finish the task list. So, I mean, last year there were no students who qualified in that program area. So, but as Tracy can tell you, the students can challenge courses if they decide to go to Penn College of Technology. They're really great about offering credit for students' experiences here alone and the challenge courses.
And just to throw this out there, if you felt really strongly about this, and I applaud you for that, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You do have the ability to say, anyone who doesn't want to go into carpentry, you could send them somewhere else. You could send them to Babbitt's, you could go to Bethlehem, you could send them to LCTI. You know, you have the, and so yes, it would cost you probably what it would cost for a teacher for a year to send a dozen kids somewhere. But when the year was over, you'd be out clean. And the students can do everything with the school, just like the Quakertown kid did in North Montauk with air conditioning. But I suspect that most students wouldn't want to do that. Most would say, no, I'll take carpentry.
Yeah.
Especially when they see the success their friends are having with a dynamic teacher like Mr. Miller. It's a lot to think about.
I'm still stuck on not being able to go hand
If he chose to, I mean, he might
No,
have.
he's on the inside, so are you coming at one inside still?
No, go to half time.
Oh,
Just hire somebody to do it.
Oh, you can do that?
then you can't like.
But then when you run out of
Can't
students,
furlough.
I mean, you're talking about closing the program at some point, right? When the students are gone, you've got an employee.
Never again, you're not gonna get a certified employee, and they'll have to get certification to be in the program for more than 20 days, which also means
I'll
tuition.
be getting emergency service for that.
But there's still a requirement for
So there,
education.
did you close that?
Yeah.
The union employee that has to stay in that.
I was just doing fine tuning.
I'm with you on that fine tuning.
Yeah, I know that. So that's why we got that on this side.
So, I mean, that would just be.
Okay, I guess.
We'll be
finished with that discussion? We have a motion here in all in favor?
All right. I said I'll clear it up with you.
Yeah, okay, I'll wear it.
I told them.